This video was made in partnership with CuriosityStream.
Nice.
Reptiles are a diverse faction full of many strategies, and generally speaking, they tend to be fairly straightforward. Turtles are tank builds that spec into high defensive stats at the cost of mobility.
That natural armor.
Crocodiles are damage dealers that focus on grappling to secure kills.
Let him go! He's getting
Snakes
got.
optimize for stealth and rely on status effects to bring down their targets. But where do lizards fit into the meta? They aren't really known for extreme speed, but as far as cold-blooded builds go, they're
me when running.
quicker than most. And while not as tanky as turtles, and not as stealthy as snakes, they can hold their own in each of these departments as well. Some of the larger lizards can even give crocodilians a run for their money in the
look, they're hugging.
power category too. While many of them could best be described as jack-of-all-trades generalists, there are also plenty of lizards with extremely unique abilities. So to better understand the many different game plans employed by the lizard player base, today we're going through the lizard tier list. Before we get into the tier list though, first I'd like to start with some background on the history of the lizard faction. So back during the Carboniferous expansion, the meta revolved around the conflict between the two most powerful factions, the amphibians and the arthropods. However, during this time, a small subsection of the amphibian player base unlocked two new special abilities: the eggshell, which allowed them to respawn on dry land rather than in the water, and scales, which gave them massively increased dehydration resistance. This eliminated their reliance on water and allowed them to explore tons of new strategies, eventually diversifying into all of the reptile builds in today's meta, as well as a few that were so overpowered that they ended up getting nerfed. The most powerful lizard build of all time was the Mosasaurus, a build that arose from a player base of beach-dwelling monitor lizards that spec'd into aquatic mobility options in order to avoid being griefed by dinosaurs. But
chat, this is you guys. Chat on their way to stream.
That arose from a player base of beach-dwelling monitor lizards that spec'd into aquatic mobility options in order to avoid being griefed by dinosaurs. But one of the most powerful lizards of today's meta. We're actually going to begin in D tier, as I don't think there are any truly awful lizard builds. The adaptations they've made to eliminate the weaknesses of their amphibian ancestors is enough to escape bottom tier in my opinion.
Nice!
So how do lizards stack up? Let's get into the tier list.
Let's see.
In D tier, we have the skink, a smaller lizard build.
He's so cute! He's so cute.
Very little in the way of unique special abilities. Their stats are also quite low, and their game plan generally just consists of chasing down players in the lower weight classes, and struggles pretty hard when forced to defend itself. In particular, this build has a lot of trouble dealing with birds. Despite
He's gone too soon!
the fact that it often hunts in grassy fields, it lacks the stealth stats required to avoid detection from above.
He's trying so hard, alright? He's trying his best.
In fact, many skinks are known for being brightly colored or having one specifically brightly colored body part.
He is a shiny noodle.
Skinks try to avoid being griefed by digging burrows for themselves, and while burrows are a great hiding place, the burrowing playstyle tends to work best when you've got the ability to launch a powerful attack in a single direction, since the bottleneck of a burrow makes it near impossible for a predator to approach without getting hit. Skinks can't really mount any sort of attack, so if their burrow gets discovered, it's most likely game over. The one defensive ability they do
have in his house. You leave him be. He's just a little guy.
Is one commonly found in the lizard player base: autotomy. Autotomy allows the user to drop their tail in order to get one free escape from a combo or grab.
That is crazy that the tail keeps moving, even though he is without it.
Now, to be fair, being able to break out of your opponent's death combos is an extremely useful trait that can save you from certain defeat.
He gets one feigned death ability, chat.
But with that said, autotomy is extremely costly to use, isn't guaranteed to work, and leaves you with reduced max HP for the rest of the game.
Yeah, but you do take a debuff when you feign death, you know?
Even if your character has regenerative abilities. For the larger lizard builds, losing your tail also removes one of your best offensive options. But
bro, he did that so fast! I didn't even know iguanas could do that. Hold up.
Losing your tail also removes one of your best offensive options.
That was so fast!
But for the skink, this isn't as big a problem. With all that being said, skinks are one of the more lackluster lizard builds, so let's keep going and get to the more interesting ones.
Got him! He got.
Also in D tier, we have the basilisk lizard, which is most notable for its use of the sprint ability, not just to move fast on land.
This guy's so cool looking! This is a basilisk? Look at him! He looks like a dinosaur. He looks like a baby dragon. I love him.
Basilisk lizard, which is most notable for its use of the sprint ability.
Look at him go! He's on 2 legs.
Not just to move fast on land, but also to cross
He's
body
like a monster hunting motherfucker. He reminds me of Puke. He's got that Puke energy, and I really vibe with it, alright? I really like Derpy Lizard.
of water. At first, this ability seems
He's on the team, chat. I don't even need his stats, alright? It makes me happy looking at him, alright? It's just, we need him as our mascot, at least.
impressive, and it certainly is a flashing
Look at him go.
But upon further examination,
Yeah, he's the
I
moral
don't think it's
support
really
I
all that
always
useful
needed,
in the long
okay?
run. Being on the surface of the water is quite possibly the most vulnerable position in the game, leaving you open to attacks from above and below. But ultimately, I think it's more important to just point out that the whole reason the reptile faction split off from the amphibian player base in the first place was to remove their reliance on water. So choosing an ability with a pretty situational use that also requires that the user be on the water's edge to use it is kind of a step backwards in the grand scheme of things. The basilisk doesn't even have bad stats. It couldn't use the water dash move without above average mobility. But still, I think
He just slammed that guy right into the... Wha-bam!
choice of moveset is pretty self-limiting, and they'd be better off speccing into other signature moves. In C tier, we have two lizard builds who
all these lizards are so fucking cute.
invested heavily into the climbing ability. The gecko build operates in a similar manner to the tree frog, with cling pads enabling it to climb any surface.
Oh my god, look at his beans. It looks like flowers. It looks like a plant.
With ease. As far as mobility perks though, this is probably one of the best in the game.
He's like, don't touch me!
It works great as an escape option, but is also fantastic for utility and even for offense, allowing the user to approach targets that
oh my god.
normally harder
He's
to
so fat! Like, this guy's a little guy. The guy in the corner, he's just a little guy. This guy's talking.
reach. Being able to hang on tight is also super important for arboreal combat,
That's a big
as
boy.
fall damage is a major threat. With such a strong clinging ability, geckos can often be the ones tossing other players into the void below.
Bro,
Geckos do have a fair number of weaknesses though. They
Picking
opt
fights
to
with a
use their
snake.
tails to store energy, which can be
he's so cute, please. They're hard to keep as pets, I bet. I've never owned a reptile pet because I'm simply too scared that, like, they just have, like, very specific needs. It just, I don't know, it scares me so much more than owning, like, a cat or, like, I don't know. Reptiles, I just feel like, I don't know. Any reptile, like, thinking of owning a reptile makes me, like, nervous.
a useful ability, but unfortunately in doing so, they take away the option to use their tails to attack. Geckos also do not have scales, instead opting for skin that gives disease resistance bonuses.
Oh, really?
So their armor class is lower than
Oh my
that
god, look at his eyeballs. They're bigger than his whole head. He's like the pug of the lizard kingdom.
of most lizards, and actually more akin to amphibians.
Eyeballs
Because of
bugging
this,
out.
they're quite vulnerable to piercing damage, such as bird talons and snake fangs. And with relatively low damage output, their only real hope against such attacks is stealth, which some do
You don't see
only
me,
real
you
hope
don't see
against
me.
such attacks is stealth, which some do definitely
The intimidation tactic worked.
excel at. All in all, solid mid-tier. The
Anole?
Anole is a small, agile lizard
Anole?
build with a surprising number of special abilities, most notable of which are their adhesive toe pads and their color-changing skin.
Oh, pretty.
Most builds that run the cling pad ability tend to be more bulky and cumbersome. Anoles emphatically break this mold, being both excellent climbers and having a climbing speed that rivals that of the squirrel. Because of this, they're great at escaping attacks by jumping between trees and scrambling up branches. But where things really get
He's
interesting
got the tiniest little eyeballs compared to the other lizards in this video.
is with the color change perk. Now, the ability to change colors is one of the most downright broken stealth perks in the game.
True.
And one of the main reasons I consider cephalopods top tier. Anoles have probably the most basic version of the color change perk, allowing them to shift between green and brown at will. While nowhere near as versatile as some other color changing builds,
Oh
green
man,
and
these guys are tiny. Look at how little they are. That's a little guy.
brown are pretty much all you'd need
He's
the vast
really
majority
small.
of the time. This change is very gradual though, so it's unlikely to allow you to escape mid-combat. which is unfortunate because, similar to the gecko, the anole suffers from a lack of combat options when caught out in the open.
He's so small.
Last in C tier, we have the Gila monster.
Oh my god.
The Gila monster is one of the tankier lizard builds and possesses one of the
He looks so thick.
highest damage outputs in the game for its size. It owes this high damage
He
not to its
looks so
actual
dense.
power stat, but to its venomous bite, a rare ability among lizards.
I like him. He looks like a
This makes them
chunky
extremely
boy.
dangerous in close combat.
Oh my god!
Combined with their excellent defensive stats and digging ability, this allows them to easily vanquish all of the players in any nest it discovers.
Wow. This is a bigger lizard.
The Gila monster is extremely slow moving though,
Okay,
which can
back
cause
it up.
issues
Nope,
if it's
nope,
ever
nope,
forced
nope,
to
nope.
flee, or if it needs to chase down a target. The lack
Back
of a
it
long
up,
whip-like
back it
tail
up.
also means its defensive combat options aren't near as diverse as other larger lizards.
Oh.
Still, with one of the most devastating bites in the game, it's certainly no low tier. In B tier, we've got the tried and true iguana, arguably the best representative of the lizard build as a whole, as it has
Iguanas get
essentially
so
all the main
big.
weaknesses and strengths of its class. I have an entire video on the iguana, so go check that out if you want an in-depth review. But in short, the iguana sports mid-range stats across the board, and is the first lizard on the tier list to make use of its tail for something other than a sacrificial.
Yeah, I had no idea they could just bust their tail out as a quick whip. Like, jeez. It's so fast. McBroven, thank you for the follow.
Scapegoat. The iguana's tail whip attack allows it to control a solid
Bam!
defensive zone around itself in all
Oops.
directions, enabling it to defend itself from group attacks. Tail whip's damage is on the low side though, so a persistent attacker could potentially
Ugh.
just eat the damage in order to break through and land its own attacks.
Ugh,
The
taking
iguana
it out.
also has access to the autonomy ability, but this is especially costly in the iguana's case, as it also be giving up its best combat move in the process.
Yeah, so they can have their tail fall off, but they lose their natural whip weapon.
Overall, a solid mid-tier with lots of potential, especially in the marine servers. The chameleon build sports several of the most unique abilities in the game. So most lizards, especially the insectivorous ones, have a pretty simple game plan for taking down enemies. Chase them down and grab them. This strategy has a lot of
Sounds
limitations
easy
though.
enough.
First of all, it means you've got pretty much no options to attack a player who is too large to grab. It also forces you to optimize heavily towards mobility,
Look at him go!
forcing you to neglect other potential strategies in order to have a chance at catching up to your target. The
Look at
chameleon
him go!
subverts this limitation by speccing into one of the strangest abilities in the game, a tether tongue attack.
Yoink.
This
Blah.
essentially functions as a ranged grab, and is extremely effective at scoring the chameleon kills. This also allows the chameleon the freedom to prioritize other stats over mobility, and in the chameleon's case, they're clearly optimized for stealth, as evidenced by their other special ability, color change. Now,
The way
while
that
chameleons
these
can
guys change colors is like so cool. It seems like they could change into so many different colors.
change color in order to buff their camouflage, most use it for communication and intimidation, shifting to brighter colors to display dominance.
That's
While they
crazy
don't
looking.
have the same cling pads that geckos and anoles do, their prehensile tail gives them extra security to ensure that they don't get easily ripped out of trees,
Yeah,
and
they do
allows them
have
to
that
attack
really
from
cool
riskier
curly
positions. With all this said though, they still struggle when caught out in the open because of their low mobility. And they also share the same offensive weakness of not being able to take down players that they can't gulp down in a single bite.
Oh! That was too big for
The
him!
tegu is a lizard build that has long been overlooked, but has recently become a serious contender on the tier list.
Look at him
Its
go!
recent
He's like, I got the target sighted.
invasion into the
can't
North
get away
American
from me.
server has destabilized the local meta, and when you look at their stats, it's easy to see why. Tegus are similar in both strategy and stats to the iguana, but
He's
slightly slower and more
huge.
defense-oriented. Their thicker hide and stockier build allows
I
them
was
to
gonna
shake
say,
off
that's
attacks
a
that
big
would send other
boy.
characters reeling. They've also got a higher intelligence stat than most lizards, which in addition to making them surprisingly decent support builds, also makes them great at outsmarting builds like alligators in order to attack their nests.
Oh my
Tegus
god!
are also
He just ate that whole egg in like one go!
omnivores, meaning they aren't forced to participate in PvP in order to level up. They did spec into the autonomy ability though, which I unfortunately think keeps them out of top tier. Before I
Oh.
reveal the top tier lizards, I just want to say real quick, if you've made it this far and are enjoying the video, it would sure make my day if you subscribed. Thanks.
Let's go! You guys
So-
should subscribe.
Without a shadow of a doubt, the best lizard build is the monitor lizard. They have everything. They've got the best stats, a combination of great mobility, power, size, and intelligence. Similar to the iguana,
Oh
monitor
my
lizards have
god! I can't get over the tail whip. I was not aware of it before today.
got the best stats, a combination of great mobility, power, size, and intelligence. Similar to the iguana, monitor lizards have an
Jesus!
extremely powerful tail whip, capable of deterring even top-tier predators.
That was
Monitor
nasty.
lizards also have a venomous bite, which again
Ouch.
is a rarity in the lizard faction. While not the speediest lizards outright, they do have great versatility in
Oh
their
my god, look at him go.
movement, being able to swim
can swim.
efficiently as well as climb most surfaces, though not to the same degree as the marine iguana or the gecko respectively. Their high intelligence enables them to consistently figure out ways to successfully raid the spawn points of other
Oof.
players, and their high
Spawn
defense
camping.
makes it so they can be rather difficult to stop once they've committed to an attack. This faction also contains the most powerful lizard in the game,
Those are big, meaty claws.
a lizard that reaches near dinosaur power levels.
Komodo dragon.
Komodo dragons are extremely powerful.
Bro, he just went after him, minding his own business.
They have a venomous bite that, while not as
Jesus.
powerful as cobra venom, is still powerful enough to seriously weaken even the tankiest builds.
Jesus.
But even without that, they'd be an absolute
The
powerhouse.
audacity.
Their tail swipes, claw slashes, and thrashing bites can easily shred through the HP of their targets. Their
Bro
only
is
real weakness
bullying
is
the
their
animal
speed,
kingdom.
which, while solid, isn't broken by any means.
Bro, born in
Still, with their
PvP mode.
incredible sense of smell, a player can never really truly escape a Komodo that's hunting them. The distance that you need to flee in order to
He's
make
going in and he's getting ankles. He's biting ankles. He's the scariest ankle biter of the animal kingdom. Please no.
the Komodo
Death
unable to track
by
you
being
down
bit
would
in the
require you to
ankles.
leave the island server entirely. Last but certainly not least, Komodos, as well as the entire monitor lizard player base, understand that their tails are an invaluable weapon that shouldn't be sacrificed in order to escape the
Not my
battle.
ankles.
So there you have it, the lizard tier list. Hopefully now you've got a good understanding of the lizard's strategies and matchups. Admittedly,
Yes.
there were a few things I had to cut from the script of this video to avoid demonetization or age restriction. If you
Yeah,
want to see the
makes
director's
sense.
cut of this episode, you can check it out on Nebula, a streaming service made by and for creators. I do this with all of my new videos.
I heard
uploading
Nebula is
ad-free
actually
and
a really good
uncensored
site.
versions of my videos
Some of you
there,
guys have said
as
it's
well as
great.
a few entirely exclusive videos.
So that's
In
nice.
addition, you can check out
I
my
always like
appearance on the
sponsors that are
Nebula
good for the
exclusive
viewer.
podcast Genesis, if you're interested in hearing my character's backstory. Nebula has partnered with CuriosityStream to bring you both services for less than $15 a year, which is 26% off the price of what CuriosityStream alone
Yu-Gi-Oh!
normally
Master
goes
Duel.
for. CuriosityStream, if you somehow didn't already know, is another amazing streaming service where you can watch thousands of high-quality documentaries, including
Nice.
Amazing Dino World, a
Nebula's
documentary
good and
about the
cheap?
aforementioned Mosasaurus.
Yeah, I hadn't heard
To
about
get
it
access,
until,
head to
I saw it here.
curiositystream.com/TierZoo. Thanks again to CuriosityStream for partnering with us at Nebula. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon, and thank
Nice.
you for watching.
That was a good video. I loved it. I'm also terrified of the lizard tail whip. That was new tech I didn't know about. I didn't know about that. That was terrifying.